I would say the industry as a whole is developing, the way I see it, into being more and more commodified, which means that the room of quality and first mover and getting those advantages is narrowed down a lot and shortening a lot. Basically, global competition is getting very much on par when we're talking products. So there is definitely, as a Northern European supplier base and Danish supplier companies, the challenge of the global industry, the global competition, is leveling out. So from producing the right product now is more to actually getting it to work correctly with the end users to make the industry more energy efficient and more environmental. So it's becoming commodified, which means that if you have to actually make a difference in the industry, you have to go the way of dialogue and to develop together with your customers. So that's the challenge and opportunity we see in the business nowadays. Global trade is one way or the other cyclical, so I still believe it is to a certain extent. But from big cycles on main commodities such as iron ore or coal or oil for that matter, grain, I think we're moving into a lot more consumer-based goods. The amount of consumer cargo is growing comparable. So I see the cyclical movements are getting shorter and smaller and more diversified. And that's where you have a big challenge in order to hit the market in the right way. So more complex, cyclical, and split out to various segments. So the long answer is yes, but in different, smaller cycles. This is a fairly old and fairly conservative industry, considering the commodification of the shipping market as such. Not so much the individual ships, but the shipping market as such. I would like more knowledge sharing, that big ship owners actually had the guts to share experience, share their data, share their information on how to run shipping in an environmental correct way, better way, because that responsibility is huge and important, I think, to look a little more long term. So we constantly work on that step by step to increase in the dialogue, but I would like to change that. Considering being a business moving 90% of the goods around the world, I think that's an important consideration to do and a big necessity as a responsibility for companies doing that. If we consider shipbuilding and shipping in general, we are looking eastwards like everybody else, like the industry's been moved. This is where you have most of the shipbuilding still being done on the classical segments anyways. Ship owner nations also moving eastwards comparable to before. But if we look at Africa as a market, there's no doubt this is a huge potential market. Still as a raw material supplying market, from everything from diamonds to coffee and tea. They're building ships for vacuum the seabed for diamonds nowadays, so things are definitely happening there. In the long run, you have a huge consumer market, which inevitably will bring even more and more containerized cargo into that region. So yes, it is absolutely a place where things are happening. I've been living in Africa myself for some years and doing logistics and shipping. So I know the possibilities quite well, I'd say. But what I still see today, even some 15, 20 years later, medium-sized companies, smaller companies are scared of going into Africa because they're scared of the complications of doing business there, corruption, control of processes and so on. So it is for the daring and the bold to go to Africa, but there's no doubt that there's a lot of money to be made. You just have to make sure you have your business under control, because we do need, again, on a global basis, to be serious and to make certain we don't fund societies to develop in the wrong direction, which is something that is very hard not to sometimes if you want to get into the market. So you have to take it very serious and you have to do it in a decent way and not just to make a quick profit. That's my opinion. In practical terms, from a Danish point of view, it is the few. that goes to Africa. But it's something that will have my attention for the next 20 years, definitely.